This is a story about how Coolio tried to put me and my little up and coming group up on game about the music industry.
Welcome to the slip, where the South sings.
In 1995, gangster rap was starting to take off all over the United States. West Coast was king. And during this time, I was an aspiring hip hop artist, and I had a group that I had been cultivating and working with for over 2 years when what appeared to be a golden opportunity to at least get our feet in the door of the music industry was about to take place. In 1995, I met Coolio. Coolio had just dropped his debut album on Tommy Boy Records called It Takes a Thief. And the first single from that album that started to pop off was Fantastic Voyage. Coolio was on the Mississippi Gulf Coast to perform his new hit. He was going to all the small venues around the United States. On this particular night, I had a group that I had been working with for over the past 2 years. Not only was I composing the music or the beats, I was also teaching them how to structure songs, how to perform on stage, how to do interviews, kind of like production / artist management. And we had been making a name for ourselves along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And this particular club owner liked my group. So he booked them to be the opening act for Coolio when he came to town that night. One of the guys in his crew caught our performance, or my group's performance, and told him, hey man, you need to come take a look at these boys here from Mississippi. So when he motioned for us to come backstage and meet him, and he wanted to chop it up, I never forget it, man. The guy was down there. He was down there. Matter of fact, I was drinking, I had a shot of Heineken, and he asked me what was I drinking, and I told him. He was like, give me a hit. Coolio took my glass, threw it back to the head. And so afterwards, he was like, man, look here, y'all got any material, any music on you? So at the time we did. I had, finance putting together a cassette, a demo cassette, but we were selling them. And I gave him a copy of the cassette. And I never forget this. Coolio looked at the project, and I believe the name of the project at the time was, there were 2 singles on it. One was called I Wanted to Be a Gangster, something like that. He looked at that, and he quickly put it back on the desk, on the table, and say, y'all got anything else on you? And everybody, we looked around like, nah, that's it. He said, look here. I look around this room, and I think it was about 7 of us in there. He said, I look around this room, and maybe one of you all in here might have killed somebody. Wow. Maybe one of y'all in here may be a killer. I may have killed somebody. He said, but this ain't what I'm looking for. This ain't really pretty much what you want. And that stayed with me because he was right. Now, one of those guys in that room had murdered anybody. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you my number. Crowbar Management was the name of his management company. He said, I'm going to give you, meaning me, I'm going to give you my number. When y'all make something different from this, hit me up, man, because I'm really liking what y'all doing. The vibe, the energy, your performance. He liked everything about the group. And so I was like, okay. Now, see, I saw this as an opportunity. I saw this as a golden opportunity to get these guys to pivot from this gangsterism rap. Like, see, you got to understand, I'm older than these guys. And I remember that when rap really started coming onto the scene, even back during the Sugar Hill days. But when it really started taking off in the 80s, I was immersed into the art form. So when gangsterism started to come along, I really wasn't with it, to be honest with you. And here's why I say that. You got to understand, it might have been different had me and these guys grew up on the West Coast, and that was part of the culture coming up. But that wasn't the culture coming up in Mississippi. But unfortunately, by the 90s, moving forward, the mid 90s, yeah, it was a real thing here in Mississippi. And a lot of the the little small towns around here, they really took it serious. Gang activity was 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 rampant. Um, so I looked at this as an opportunity to pivot. So me being who I am, I'm the older one out of these guys, and I'm telling them, hey man, this is our opportunity now. We got somebody who I know is gonna blow up. So you gotta understand, Coolio wasn't on the level of an Ice Cube or NWA or any of those other guys who was coming out of Cali at the time. But he was making a name for himself, and that single was starting to catch on nationwide, and it was already on MTV in heavy rotation. But those guys didn't give a damn. They didn't give a damn what I was talking about, man. They heard what I said that night. It went in one ear and out the other. Because over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I talked about that. In fact, I even called the number to make sure it was a legitimate phone number. The guy got on the phone like, yeah. I remember y'all down in Mississippi. Yeah. Well, you got something for us? I was like, no, we working on it. He said, yeah, but when you get something, hit us up. And he hung up. I even tried to use that with these guys. I'm like, hey, man, look here. I done called the dude, man. Crowbar Management. It's legit. Say, Coolio still want to hear from us, bro. I think we need to pivot and we need to make something more along in the line of what he's doing. I mean, he was making street music, but he was making fun, club street music. That was his whole persona. And they weren't listening to me. So needless to say, after about a month of going back and forth and not hearing anything, I left it alone. Fast forward. In 1996, Coolio dropped his next album. And the lead single from that album was Gangsta'sparadise. I listened to that single. And there were pivotal points in the lyrics of that song that I could not help but to think that he was talking directly to my young group. Specifically, the part about him saying, too much television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. Wow. Now, that's just probably something that that particular line could have resonated with anyone that Coolio had met across this country at the time when he was on his way up. But it really hit home for me because that's the way I looked at it. These guys was tied into the media culture. West Coast was taking off. Gangster rap was the thing. And in the movies, everybody wanted to be a gangster. So I felt like Coolio was kind of like, you know, talking directly to my crew. So fast forward. Later on down the line in that year, that song started popping up everywhere. I looked at it like we missed a golden opportunity to work with someone who done blowed up. Coolio after that was scorching hot. Televisions, movies, he was in it. Records, he was on it. And I feel like we missed out on a pivotal opportunity because this guy was on his way up. Only people he had in his camp, from what I understood, was guys from his neighborhood. And he reached out to some boys from Mississippi and said, here's my management company's number. Hit me up when you got something more in the vein of what I'm looking for. So that stayed with me. And I looked at it like we missed a golden opportunity to actually get our foot at least in the doorway. Rest in peace to Coolio. But I'm sharing this with you for a reason. Sometimes we can miss a golden opportunity because we allow our ego or other people in our ear to convince us otherwise. Those young brothers had nothing to lose and everything to gain by sending this guy at least a demo of 3 new songs, totally different from what they were rapping about on that demo that he had looked at and threw back on the table. But to me, that was a foolish mistake. Sometimes we can allow our ego or someone else in our ear to convince us to go against our own greater good. And in that particular situation, I believe that's what transpired. Now, who knows what would have happened? Maybe Coolio would have heard the new selections and probably quit answering my phone calls. But then again, on the other hand, he might have listened to him and hit me back. And we don't know where that might have taken us. But one thing is for certain, we will never know, because those guys chose not to give themselves the best opportunity to win. If you are somebody and you are in a position to win or to open doors for yourself or for your family, I'm not saying do anything that's illegal. I'm not saying do anything that goes against your morals and values. Definitely not that. But that was not what Coolio was asking. In fact, he was asking just the opposite of that. He was basically trying to reach out to these young guys and say, hey man, this ain't what you think it is, and that ain't what you want. I'm from Compton. That ain't what y'all want, man. They did not listen to that. And if you're the type of person who is closed-minded and thinking that I'll get it my way, when your way might not be the best way, you might find yourself later on in life regretting the opportunities that you missed out on. Fast forward now, 2025, neither one of those guys' careers went nowhere. I eventually quit working with them because they fell out with one another, as it always happened a lot of time with groups. R&B, rap, it don't matter. People grow up and they grow apart. But neither one of them now is working in the industry, and neither one of them now is doing anything dealing with music. So did they really gain anything by holding their grounds and not willing to give me the records that I needed to turn in to Coolio? Did they really win by doing that? Nah. Nah, they didn't win. They missed out on an opportunity. And we'll never know what could have been. You know, I'm going to college to be a cinematographer. And one of my projects, I had to create a short film. And one of the guys that was in the group, I reached out to him because he's now a youth minister at this church. And I needed a church, and I needed him to play a character. So when we was on break in between scenes, I brought that conversation up to him. I said, hey man, do you remember this time when Coolio came down and you guys opened for him? He said, yeah, I remember that. And he goes on to share with me about an encounter that they had with Coolio after the concert was over, because he invited him to the hotel that he and the group was staying at. And the only thing he could remember about was having an opportunity of his life to party with Coolio. That is the only thing he remembered from that particular encounter with Coolio. I say, man, you don't remember this guy was trying to get you guys to send him better music, or music that would align with his company, because he was looking at managing us or you all through me, and he drew a blank. You either could be dialed in on what you are trying to accomplish in life and not willing to take no for an answer, or you can be somebody who just floating through life, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry who has a halfway cockamamie story about what we're going to do to get you there, you can cling to that and float with that. But to have a rock solid opportunity, you rather pass on that, and the only thing you remember is getting high with this man. Priorities, man. So I want y'all to answer this for me in the comments section. Where do your priorities lie? Are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve and accomplish goals that you set for yourself? Or are you just floating through life, and whatever come your way, you down for it if it moves you in the right way? Or are you going to dial in and say, nah, come hell or high water, I'm going to sacrifice because I know in the long run I'm going to be better off for it? There's somebody standing behind you that's hungry, waiting for that opportunity to pounce, and you standing in the way. You two in awe and starstruck, rather than saying, I'm not here to take pictures. A selfie? Nah, dog, that ain't what I'm here for. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. The knowledge that Coolio gave me and these young guys on that day in 1995. To my next video, I'm G. Lewis. God bless. Take care of yourself. And always, fam, please take care of your people. I'm out.